Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Portland. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Jacob Van Lunen, and we're ready for the finals. Robert Santana on Jund Delirium is facing down Travis Wu on Black-White Planeswalkers here in the finals. You can see we are in the early stages of Game 1 here, Jake. We've got a couple of lands. I can tell you that Travis mulliganed to 6 and then put the card on top.
Robert kept his opening 7 plus being on the draw. Draw another card too, so still 7 cards in hand.
Nothing in the early stages, though. This is something that we would expect out of a relatively controlling matchup here. We're not going to see a big flurry of creatures in the early stages beating down or whatever. It's going to be more things like this. Wow.
Yeah.
Travis just lining up for a Planeswalker here. This has to tell Robert that there's a Planeswalker incoming in the next turn or two. And, in fact, there is. If Travis hits his land drop this turn, he's already got a Gideon. And there's a land off the top, though I don't even think he needed it. So yeah. Travis, he's in the market for some zombies.
I like it. I also would have led with the Oath there. I think it's wise in a matchup like this where, you know, you're not going to get much value out of that.
Exactly. Well, you're not if you hold it in your hand, but if you play it now, you're going to get a zombie. And this is a big turn for Robert because you can see that Travis has actually put quite a board state out. And there it is, Distended Mindbender for Robert Santana.
Wow, and he gets a Ruinous Path and Ob Nixilis.
And remember, Travis being on a mulligan there left him with no spells left in hand. Just the top card of his deck. Wow, but he ripped really nice there. Ruinous Path to take it out of the way. And he's going to attack for 9.
It's a big attack.
Wow, this has been a swingy game.
Already in these few turns. It's crazy that we're watching this control matchup and it's this explosive.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Robert had stabilized, at least relatively speaking, but that top deck from Travis Wu just opened the floodgates of damage here. And this could be a very quick one if Robert can't find some answers.
Yeah, if Robert's hand is just a bunch of grapples and gather the packs and whatnot,
he's
then
dead.
Yeah, Travis activates that shambling vent and the game's over. That's exactly 11 damage.
11 damage. Like, Robert has to kill something or affect the board this turn. He does not have the luxury of this, of, you know, playing vessels and things like that. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Is he just dead?
It looks like he's just dead.
1 mana? He's going to take an Evolving Wilds off of this pile. He's dead.
He may have a Fiery Impulse.
He doesn't play Deadweight in the main. A Fiery Impulse would kill one of the 2-powered creatures and keep him alive. In fact, he may be even able to kill the Shambling Vent, depending on what's in his yard. He does have a Fiery Impulse, Jake. Good eye.
Okay. So that's a turn, but that's dangerous because then, he's at...
Yeah, so what's going to happen here, though, is actually it does get pretty interesting. If he can find some way to get that Kozilek's Return flash back, he could wipe the board of at least the tokens. It looks like he's going to go for Ishkana Graffwidow, which he, of course, can't cast this turn. Travis is going to activate, and ship everything in there. He's not going to win this turn, though. The Fiery Impulse with Spell Mastery is going to take down the Shambling Vent and put him to 2.
Yeah, down to 2
Still
life
looks
here.
terrible here for Robert. Even if he plays out the Ishkana, that will buy him a turn. Can he scrap back into this game? Ishkana Graffwidow is the type of card that you want to do this, right? I mean,
absolutely.
It gives you breathing room. It makes Travis's attacks a lot worse. I mean, realistically, Travis can still attack with Gideon, but then it just gets chump blocked by a spider. And that is where Robert can hide. This could be the start of a comeback here for Robert Santana.
Ishkana is exactly the card he needs to make this kind of comeback. And he's fortunate that he had that Fiery Impulse, but... Nice play here from Travis, attacking with all of his creatures again, and then using Grasp of Targonus on Ishkana Graffwidow, and making it so that his zombie wins the war.
Nice draw from Travis, finding a couple of removal spells. And leaving Robert with just a spider, another Ishkanah would do quite nicely here.
That would be ideal. Does he have it?
He's got a Liliana. He can use that to mitigate the zombie. And then he still has the spider just clinging to life to block Gideon. Go, and can Travis draw a third removal spell in a row to take this game?
It would be enough.
He found a Gideon.
Ooh.
That is not what he wanted to see here.
That is not at all what he wanted to see. Yeah. So that Gideon, though, making another token and making another zombie. Those all attack for 2.
Lethal, 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 and another lethal. You know, I didn't think the Gideon looked too good, but when it comes with a lethal zombie, I have to say that actually just isn't that bad of a draw.
Again, though, Robert Santana, he's going to be able to once again cast Ishkanah.
He can get it back here with his grapple. Will he have enough mana? Yes.
Depending on what's in his hand, he might even have a more impressive play than that.
I can't imagine it.
Well, I believe he has a Kozilek's return in his yard.
He does.
So if he's somehow
he
able
totally
to,
does.
yeah.
If he can Emrakul, is that what you're thinking, or Distended Mindbender?
I don't know if he'll be able to Emrakul this turn, but
I would assume not. Though he's kept his graveyard pretty piled high there.
and there is a Pilgrim's Eye in there, so he has like Artifact.
Take a look at Robert here as he goes in the tank. How can I survive? A truly explosive start here for Travis Wu, even though it didn't look like that's how the game was going to pan out.
So he took Ishkanah.
He took Ishkanah. Okay.
Yeah. Buying himself a bit more time with that.
It looks similar to the situation he was in recently there.
Yeah.
He gets to chump block, eat a creature. And there we go. Ishkanah Graph Widow. Once again, Travis has 4 lethal threats, and Ishkanah makes 4 blockers, though Liliana also helps. Okay, he's going to play a Vessel, and Liliana's going to go against one of her own there.
Yeah.
The zombie. What does Travis find?
Looks like it's another Gideon.
You know, like I said, when he drew it last time, I thought, well, that's not what he wants. But I've been convinced otherwise, thanks to the Oath of Liliana. While it's not the ideal draw, it's actually not that bad. And Travis is just going to keep jamming here. And it looks like we're going to see similar blocks to what we saw before. This is very good for Robert. He loses a couple of spiders, but takes out 2 of the tokens. And we're going to see Travis just play yet another Gideon.
Seems like it.
3rd Gideon in a row, and he also plays that land from his hand, so he is out of gas. And once again, he's rebuilt, but Ishkanah doing a noble job of holding down the fort in conjunction with Liliana as well.
Yeah, so many turns where Robert was able to exactly survive.
Yes. Another interesting scenario there for Robert, again, not really being able to see his graveyard too well. He could chump block with Ishkanah and to get it back with Liliana and just recast it again. He didn't do that, though. He may have another one in his graveyard anyway, though. You know, just for the spiders.
Yeah, and I mean, that seems like a very good line for him here. Ideal draw step for Travis at basically any point now would be Planner Outburst, able to clear the way so that Gideon can attack for lethal damage.
And it looks like Liliana is now going to dig around in the graveyard here and see what she finds. It was the Mindbender. That was from earlier in the game. Now, Travis Wood has no cards left in hand, but maybe Santana just wants to have a 5-5 instead of a 3-5 with reach. Also, again, putting Ishkana back in the graveyard's not bad.
Yeah.
And boom.
Kozilek's return.
There goes
And
Kozilek's return. Of course, the Mindbender is going to survive that. It's actually technically on the stack when that goes. And is this Robert Santana coming back fully here and turning this game around? Unreal. He has been at 2 life facing 4 lethal threats for 3 turns in a row.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, he's the one who's in the driver's seat here.
It's been a really interesting game. I mean, Robert got that really early Descendant Mindbender, and Travis knew that he wasn't going to win the game with cards in the long term. So he needed to get aggressive, and he got aggressive as one could imagine somebody getting. And
he did. And you remember, that was against Travis Wu, who had mulliganed as well.
Yeah, and that fiery impulse from Robert Santana gave him exactly 2 life.
And right away, Travis finds himself another removal spell to take down the Mindbender after a Shia token chump blocked. This game's been crazy good.
And
yeah, that was a grapple with the past. He also had the ability to Vessel of Nascency, but wanted more options. He got back Ishkana, if I saw correctly.
And now a whole bunch more spiders once again.
And a lot of cards, too. Here's Nissa churning through the top of the library. And my goodness, Robert is still in this game and, in fact, is ahead now.
Yeah, he looks like he's solidly in the driver's seat.
I think so, too. Tell you what, though, he's going to want to shut the door on this game as quickly as he can.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that could happen that would make him just lose right away. Not a lot, but, Soren's one activation could potentially win the game.
I think Travis is actually a mana short on Soren at the moment, so that's at least 2 draw steps.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because the Shambling Vent died earlier. And meanwhile, Travis has to just be content with jamming with Gideon here after he's drawn his card. And there goes the Vessel now for Robert.
So if that card stays in Travis's hand, does that give us an idea of what it could be?
No, it could be a land. He could just... Could be Soren. And Robert is just gleefully plussing his Planeswalkers. And there's Emrakul. There's Emrakul.
Emrakul's a pretty impressive play here.
Yeah, I think that, we'll likely see Robert play Emrakul, make sure that happens, and then he can try to get Gideon dead here. He may just be able to attack him for enough here. Anyway, he can attack him for, 3, 4, only for 5, which is most of the way there. And it looks like I didn't quite see it because Travis put it away, but maybe it was something like an ultimate price or a grasp. Yeah, okay. To take down one of the spiders and maintain a loyalty on Gideon. Travis knows that he needs to cast that anyway, because if he's going to get Emrakuled here, he's not going to want that in his hand. So may as well choose how he'd please. And this is it. We're going to see Emrakul here. Unbelievable game from Robert Santana. So far behind in the early stages, clinging to 2 life for multiple turns, and now casting Emrakul against an empty-handed Travis Wu. Crazy stuff.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, Travis can still win this game, which is just crazy to me.
It is.
Take a very specific set of draws here, but we've seen running cards before, and we'll see them again.
Robert's just double-checking that he's counted his mana correctly to make sure he can cast Emrakul. Always a smart thing to do. It can be hard to track the graveyard as a means of mana production. It's a little tricky. He was also counting out how many lands he had played because he's still got that Pilgrim's Eye in his hand. He's going to cast it. And I see the hand of a judge making sure that everything's kosher here. So we'll just let them work this out.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what might be going on here.
I think it was just asking if he had played a land yet.
Oh. And Travis here on his extra turn. I mean, his regular turn, he could draw an untapped land, and then on his extra turn, he could draw Sorin. Still some possibilities for victory here. The drama of this game, though. Robert leaving Travis with nothing in his hand. Was that turn 4? It just right away just starts going. And then
There was a flurry of action in the early stage for sure. And the whole game has kind of reverberated off of that two-turn sequence there. And now we've come to a bit of a grinding halt here as they sort out how many lands Robert should have. It looks like they got it sorted. All right, so Swamp is going to go into hand for Robert Santana off of the Pilgrim's Eye. Liliana's going to tick upwards, though no actual target. And Robert's going to pass. Now, remember, this is Robert controlling the turn, so he's just going to decline to play this land for Travis.
Mm-hmm.
He could -4 Gideon to make an emblem here and leave Travis with a weakened but still there Gideon and now an emblem. Or he could just say, okay, close enough. Depends on what his plan is for actually getting Gideon dead and attacking it at some point. Smart play there by Robert. He's going to tap both of the Pain Lance to get in for 2, but not a particularly exciting Emrakul turn here for Robert. But one thing that is exciting for Robert is that he now has an Emrakul on the battlefield. And it looks like Robert's decided just to pass. Well, that is in your hand, Travis, though you can play it. And it's a Transgress the Mind, and that's not going to do it. Robert Santana takes down game number 1 against Travis Wu, hanging on by merely 2 life, facing down a 5/5, 3 2/2s for multiple turns, and still getting the job done. Incredible stuff there in that first game. Hopefully all of our games are that exciting.
Yeah, there we really saw the incredible power of Ishkana Graph Widow. A card that, when we first started seeing cards from Eldritch Moon and we saw that card, a lot of people were skeptical. They were saying, you have to work for Delirium. It's still a bit of a pipe dream. It turns out that card is very much the real deal. We've been seeing it in action all weekend. We saw it all last weekend. And now here in the finals, Robert Santana with a Jund Delirium deck using Ishkana Graph Widow to just stabilize it 2 life against Travis Wu and get back in the game.
Yeah, one thing that I definitely noted after the Pro Tour was how easy it is to get Delirium if you make it a priority.
Yeah.
Once people started playing Vessel of Nascency, and I thought, okay, well, when I see that in a constructed deck, I know how important Delirium is for these decks. And it is really quite easy to get Delirium if you want it.
Yeah.
You do have to dedicate slots of your list to make it happen. But, like you said, when it comes to cards like Ishkana without Delirium is kind of miserable. That's a medium card. And but when you play it with Delirium, it pushes it into that really great category. And so as long as you're prioritizing it, you can get it.
Decent and limited, even without Delirium. 3/5 reach.
Pack one, pick one, my friend. All right, now this is a big one here, Jake. Let's get into this. So on the sideboards here, we were talking about how there's too many spot removal spells for each player in the main deck. Now, they're not going to want to have 0, but they've just a little overloaded, for matchups like Bant Company and that kind of thing, where they're not going to be seeing as many targets here, and they're certainly going to be doing some pretty major work on their sideboard. So what are you seeing that could come in place of some of those spot removal spells?
All right, so Robert Santana's got a pretty nice board for this type of matchup. I feel like post-board, his matchup improves quite a bit. He has Pick the Brain, he has Den Protector, he has Transgress the Mind, he has an additional copy of Emrakul the Promised End, he has a Duress. So he's able to really take out all of these cards that are kind of miserable in the matchup and replace them with very live, high-impact cards. Travis, on the other hand, again, he can bring in an additional copy of Read the Bones, 3 Duress, 2 Infinite Obliteration, an Anguished Unmaking, and another Planner Outburst. So here, what's going to happen likely is that they're both going to be picking apart the other's hand and taking threats, and we could very easily see this kind of become a top deck war.
Right.
We know from formats like Modern that, once these matchups kind of get figured out, a lot of the time people start removing discard spells from their decks in post-boarded matches because both players end up with empty hands and then they're terrible top decks. But this is a brand new format, and I doubt either of these players have a ton of experience playing the matchup. Also, the sideboards don't really allow them to do that in the same kind of way. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be really interested to see how this pans out, and I think discard spells are going to be really high priority, high impact cards in the early turns of the game, and I think they're going to be really bad top decks in the later stages of the game. And I think the winner of these post-boarded games will likely be dictated by who draws their discard spells early in the game or who draws their discard spells late in the game.
Okay. Yeah, you'll often see that in matchups where both players have a lot of discard spells, is that they'll tend to do a pretty good job of tearing apart each other's hand, and the dust sort of settles on the game, and then it's like, who's got the engine? Mm-hmm. We've seen Tireless Tracker over the course of the weekend do a lot of work. We're not going to see that kind of card here, right? It's probably going to come down to the Planeswalkers from Travis and, a few different things that Robert has going on. But okay, players are taking a look at their opening sevens. Hopefully we get a pair of keeps here. Let's see how these hands look to our players.
Cash out the last of your prize tickets after a great weekend here at Granite Creek Portland. Thank you everyone for coming, and safe travels.
Nope, Travis does not like his hand, and you know what? Either does Robert.
Both of them going down to 6 cards this time. Last time Travis started on 6 and immediately had his hand completely blown up by Distended Mindbender. This time, neither player happy. They're opening 7. Before the match, we were talking about how good Distended Mindbender was in the matchup, and it really was just incredible there in Game 1.
I mean, it had to have won Robert that game. I mean, looking back at how razor thin that margin was for Robert to actually pick up that victory, another spell from Travis felt like it would have won in almost every scenario. I don't care what the spell is, just removal of the creature, of draws, anything.
Yeah, I believe the 2 spells that he lost were a Ruinous Path and a Sorin Grim Nemesis.
Goodness sakes. Okay, it looks like we've got a keep here from Robert. He's going to top, and yeah, we've both kept. All right, here we go, underway. Land for Travis Wu, no plays yet. No plays from Robert Santana either, though. And are we going to see our first Transgress? Yeah, we are. There it is. Transgress the Mind from Travis Wu after playing his land. And Distended Mindbender is the one that Robert pulls out of the fray there.
Yeah, 2 options there, Pilgrim's Eye or Distended Mindbender. Den Protector, although we're usually paying 3 mana to cast it, actually a 2-mana card.
That's right.
Interesting interaction there. The fact that you get to dodge Transgress the Mind with Den Protector is actually very good for Den Protector in the current format.
Indeed.
Not a lot of high-impact cards for Robert right here.
No, especially with that Mindbender gone. I think he had a pretty sweet idea here of going Pilgrim's Eye into Mindbender, and that is not going to happen for Robert here as it's been exiled. That would have been really good.
And Gideon is, I think Gideon and Collected Company and Jace Friends Prodigy are really the most powerful in a vacuum cards in Standard. Mm-hmm. And we haven't seen that much Gideon. I think the problem is that a lot of the decks which might want to be playing that card either can't play enough lands to play the 4-drop or need to play enough creatures for their collected companies to be good and need to be low to the ground in casting cost. So I'm really impressed here by just the fact that a 4 Gideon deck makes it to the finals of the GP and how frequently that happens in formats where that's not very common.
Another important piece of the puzzle here for Travis Wu, read the bones. This is one of his ways to really get ahead on cards, both in quality and quantity. Travis is going to chip in there with that knight and then make another one. Robert's not quite done for the turn, though. He's got himself a grapple with the past, which, hello, found an Ishkanah. And you know what? Robert actually has Delirium here.
Yeah.
3-card Delirium. Does he have a land? Bang! Graph Widow, trigger. And Travis says, but you've only got 3. Oh, Pilgrim's Eye, huh?
You have some risky business there from Robert, not chump blocking with that Pilgrim's Eye. Looks good right now, though.
Wow,
let
it
me tell you.
certainly came together for him. That has to be one of the best grapple with the past I've ever seen.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of good ones, too. That Liliana activation we saw earlier in this top 8?
Yeah, that was better than this.
Yeah.
But still, that grapple was insane. Oh, man. Travis is not done with the Planeswalkers here, though. He's got Ob Nixilis to kill Ishkanah, but that should hold off the team. Yeah, Travis is going to pass the turn back, and wow, that's a lot of weight on the shoulders of a Pilgrim's Eye here to try to contain 2 separate Planeswalkers.
Especially when Ob Nixilis can tick up if it needs to.
And certainly will next turn either way. Robert's trying to decide which of these 2 Planeswalkers to attack. Ob Nixilis is the one on 2 loyalty.
Oh, I think he attacked
He
Travis.
just attacked Travis Wu.
That's crazy.
That is gutsy.
Yeah.
Travis falls down to 17. And another copy of Ishkanah hits the battlefield here for Robert Santana. Wow. Travis is going to keep the cards flowing here. He's drawn an Infinite Obliteration as well for the turn. He's got a Languish in his hand, I believe. Yeah, there's a Languish and a Ruinous Path. A second copy of Gideon, too.
Yeah, Travis, not too thrilled that these Ishkanahs keep flowing. I'm sure that, had it not hit Ishkanah, grapple with the past, which was cast earlier, then he would have happily used that to remove those from his opponent's library. They match up really well against Travis's Threat Suite.
Wow, Travis is going to attack into the Spider Army.
I think Travis is hoping that Ishkanah Graph Widow gets in the way of one.
I see.
Because that would give his Languish a lot of power here.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that he's possibly still just going to line up a Languish in the next, either this turn or next.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
You were totally correct, though, Jake. That's exactly what he was hoping for. He was hoping Robert just threw Ishkanah in front of one of those and did some other blocking. Yeah, and he's just going to fire off the Languish. Not what he was hoping for ideally, but hey, he'll take it. And he still gets left with a Knight ally, and you can see that Travis is in control mode here and now trying to decide if he wants to actually kill Ishkanah. If he does, he can use his Ruinous Path on it, but if he doesn't, he can cast Infinite Obliteration, and he's going to do that. And since Travis knew that he had that Den Protector in hand, he decided to name Den Protector.
I like it.
And he's going to go get the rest of those. This guarantees that he gets immediate value by taking a card out of Robert Santana's hand, which is really awesome and important. And then, he's going to go get the other copies of that important creature out as well.
Yeah, Den Protector also quite good at pressuring the Planeswalkers, especially when Travis's way to defend them primarily right now is by streaming out 2/2s, which can't really block the Den Protector once it flips up. So, actually turning out to not be behind in cards when casting Infinite Obliteration, which is a nice place to be when you're using that postboard card. We do see, though, that Robert has another copy of Grapple with the Past in hand, and he can use that to grab, I believe he has another Ishkanah in the graveyard, so later on that would work well.
He should have one from that Obnix list that killed it. So it could just be 3 Ishkanahs. You see a Blighted Fen down there for Wu as well, something that Robert's going to have to keep in mind if he, wants to just attack here and not do a whole lot and leave just Ishkanah all by her lonesome. Then Travis Wu may be able to nab a pretty nice one.
Yeah, not a lot of value wasted on that either.
Attack Gideon. Travis is going to eagerly chump block there, like you do.
Yeah, that's a deal.
And here's Grapple. Let's see what he finds. Well, he didn't find anything additionally, so Ishkanah still looks like the best creature he can get. He would have to replace this Ishkanah, but hey, it's untapped and it has spiders.
It doesn't seem that bad.
No, seems totally fine to me. And there we go. That's the third one of the game for Robert Santana. Can Travis take this kind of pressure? Travis still has 2 Planeswalkers up, so he doesn't look like he's in bad shape. Ooh, Ruinous Path for Wu.
That could be pretty good with the Awaken ability, too.
Travis is down to 15.
Yeah, continuing to draw cards here.
And you can see that Travis is doing the Emrakul math here now.
Yeah. Trying to find out when his opponent is going to have access to that. He does have the Transgress the Mind in his hand, but right now, not really sure if Robert has anything relevant in hand. And this is the problem with sideboarding and so many discard spells when your opponent is doing the same thing. Often draw them later in the game.
Yeah, here's an Oath of Liliana to take down one of the spiders. And then Travis is going to get a couple of knights off of a pair of Gideons. And since he played that Oath, he's also going to get a zombie. It's a big draw step here for Robert.
Yeah, really important draw step for Robert.
He's been hiding behind Ishkanah for quite a while. 3 different Ishkanahs, I might say. But he really needs to kind of turn the tide around here, as Travis has been consistently having great turns thanks to the 2 Planeswalkers he's got on the battlefield for multiple turns now.
Yeah, he's been using his mana effectively.
Oh, it's Traverse?
Wow.
That's one of the better draws in the deck for Robert.
Absolutely.
Man, is he really going to be able to go get Emrakul and cast it here? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I don't know if he has quite enough for that.
Doesn't look like it, no. So he's going to go get Nissa Vastwood Seer, which he can use to become a Planeswalker at least. Trigger this. Go get a forest.
That may be telling
Play
of
it,
what's in Robert's
trigger it.
hand, maybe? It's his last remaining card. His second copy of Emrakul, the Promised End. Or he probably would have been able to cast it that turn. He had 7 lands.
Mm-hmm. Plus.
Yeah, this Ruinous Path looking better and better.
Oof. Grapple the Pass isn't bad.
It's quite good.
Now the Ruinous Path doesn't look quite as good anymore with that grapple, right? Like,
No, not at all.
if he kills Ishkanah or Nissa, he can just get either of those back.
Grapple with the Pass is a great card.
God, it sure is.
Reminds me of playing with Regrowth back in the old days. Only
This one
now it
helps you
actually
get stuff in the yard.
Yeah, this one like fills your graveyard for you.
It's
Gives
also
you delirium.
instant. Yeah, look at that. Kind of cool. At the Pro Tour, Ian Duke was telling me that the artwork on that is a throwback to what's it called, Make-A-Wish. Remember that card from Innistrad?
Oh, yeah. Hey.
Yeah, if you look at the artwork, some bad things have happened since. There you go. Take a look at it. So there she is. She's dropped her coin. She's got her teddy bear. Do you see her teddy bear in her hand?
Mm-hmm.
Things get a little ugly from there. I think that's the girl at the top there.
Oh, yeah?
Reaching down for the bear.
That's
yeah.
pretty sad.
Yeah. Sometimes Eldrazi invade your town, I guess.
I suppose her wish did not come true.
Indeed. All right. Finally, Travis has decided what his line of play is going to be for this turn. And it's play a land and then think a little more.
And this is a pretty complex board.
Chad says, at least she got back her teddy. It's true. She was able to reach it now.
Well, that's a good point. Maybe it was like a positive mutation. Wow. And it's the thing about Grapple the Past, it makes the game so complicated because now suddenly Robert's entire graveyard is live too.
Okay, well, Travis is going to fire this thing off, and then, all right, looks like he is going to awaken onto the Shambling Vent as well. And Gideon's going to attack and get immediately chump blocked by a spider. Travis is whittling down Robert Santana's board. One by one. It's taking a very long time and giving Robert a lot of wiggle room here to try to find answers or threats of his own. Man, Emrakul here would be insane. Taps the top of his library. And I think he came up with a vessel of nascency.
Oof.
There's Emrakul. Robert Santana has Emrakul. He's going to count up his delirium count here to see how much he actually has to pay mana-wise, but this is going to be a devastating blow for Travis Wu. He is going to lose most of his board here. This Planeswalker deck does not do well.
Yeah, and this was my major concern in the matchup for Travis. Just how does he beat Robert when Robert's going that big? You know, your control deck, your whole plan is I'm going to draw more cards than my opponent. I'm going to have spells to contain all of their aggression. But when they're going so big that all of those extra cards you draw become irrelevant, then what are you supposed to do?
All right, well, let's just see what Robert does. So first things first, he's going to play Transgress, target Travis. That misses. Robert had been setting up for this Emrakul for multiple turns, and it has finally hit the battlefield. Now, Robert has not... All right, I see. He's going to probably just use Ob Nixilis on the Shambling Vent at some point here.
I think that would be ideal.
Shambling Vent's big.
Yeah.
And did he activate it? I suppose he just verbalized that.
Yeah, he's got to pay mana for that.
Yeah, it did. Obviously, Ob Nixilis doesn't get to just blow up lands, though. If he's not going to do it with any other, then I guess he could have just said, "I'll pay 3 and activate it" or something.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't try to activate this Blighted Fen or something, then we're fine.
Yeah. Which, by the way, would be really bad if he did that.
Yeah, it would not be good for him because he has to target himself with that. The Blighted Fen is opponents only.
Correct. And he is going to use the Case of Koilos to drop Travis down to, 13. As in 13.
Yeah, 13 is the magic number these days.
Oh, it's still awakened, Jake. You're supposed to correct me on that. The land. It was an awakened land.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he didn't need to activate it. It wasn't relevant anyway. Travis now down to 12. And are we going to see him find an answer for Emrakul? He does not have time. He's got a turn. Read the bones for Travis.
All right. 1.
1. draws the next one. It's infinite obliteration. He shows it to him because he's got all lands in hand.
And I think that's it.
And Robert Santana is your champion here
Wow.
at Grand Prix Portland. What an exciting final match as well. Great stuff. Our players really made it dramatic for us. Thank you to them. Congratulations to Travis Wu on the finalists. We'll see him back on the Pro Tour in Hawaii.
Trip to Hawaii, you could do worse.
And, of course, we've also got our champion, Robert Santana. He will also be in Hawaii. This guy seemed to have hit it off,
incredible
too.
run.
Yeah, great
for
stuff.
Robert Santana.
Jund Delirium is the champion deck here in Portland. That's going to do it for the finals.